Layovers, your weekly dose of aviation innovation.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard from the flight deck. This is Paul Papadimitriou.
Hello everybody, this is Alex Hunter.
We'll be your pilots for this show about the news, the startups and the technologies defining the modern air travel experience. Our flying time today, 1 hour and 31 minutes, and we expect an on-time arrival. Coming up on this flight, I take a shower in the first class cabin of an Emirates A380. A fire cripples Fiumicino Airport in Rome. Asia is running out of pilots but builds the best airports. The war of reports between the US and the Gulf keeps going, and we look at a fantastic hotel in Hong Kong. As we reach our cruising altitude, I'm going to turn off the fasten seatbelt sign for you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, sit back, relax, and let's turn on those noise-cancelling headphones.
Flight 14 to Dubai. Hi, Alex.
Hi, how are you? Are you not too jet lagged?
Well, I could ask you the same question. We've both traveling a lot, right?
This is true. Your itinerary was epic, to say the least. I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, I was in Luxembourg, then Frankfurt, then Dubai, then I went to Hong Kong to meet you through Bangkok, actually. And back to Dubai to go to Rome, and from Rome to here, only for one day because I'm leaving again tomorrow. But we had a great time in Hong Kong.
We did. What a city. What a city.
Well, for you, it's also a trip back to memory lane because you used to live there, right?
I did. I spent 10 years there as a kid or teenager. But boy, I mean, even in the last, I think it's been 3 years since I've been there, how much it's changed. It's just incredible.
Yeah. I agree. It's really a breathtaking city. It must be one of the best cities in the world.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. I think it's funny because I went to my old neighborhood and I was like, I'm going to go see the little old lady that we used to buy our goldfish from. It's like this little tiny shack, like with the width of a house door. I was like, I'll go see her. Maybe she'll remember me. It's an Apple store now.
Oh, wow. That tells you a lot about
the whole thing's gone and it's an Apple store.
Oh, God. But you've also been to Singapore, right?
Yeah, quick 36-hour trip to Singapore.
So you were both in these two cities to record your video travel show called Attaché.
That's right. We were shooting Attaché episodes in Singapore and Hong Kong.
So we'll put the links here as well when you release this episode. The last one was, which one was the one that it was just released?
We will be putting San Francisco out early next week.
Oh, awesome. So we'll put the link here as well. Yeah, because to warn people, we probably won't be recording next week because I'm traveling in Prague and then New York, and I don't think I'll be able to record. And apologies for those who were used to have an episode on Monday. The last two, including this one, are recorded on a Friday because of, those travels. But we're still trying to get once a week, and we kind of still good at it, right?
Yeah, we have a pretty good record so far.
So we decided to name this episode Dubai Airport because we'll be talking a lot about Emirates, both news and also because I've been traveling Emirates. More of that in a few. But first, the news of the week. Emirates just announced profits, and it's pretty actually good profits. They surged 40% to $1.2 billion. They said, of course, the fuel cost dropping was a big help there. Though, that's interesting, they had some issues with, the runway at Dubai was under renovation, one of the runways, and that created a little bit of bottleneck in Dubai, which is already a very busy airport, so I cannot imagine how it must have been. So that kind of dented the profit a little bit, but they're very happy with that, and that proves that, we have this old debate that comes every week that we'll come to it in a few seconds. It proves that the airline is actually not only being subsidized as is being accused of, but actually really makes a profit.
Yeah, that they can make a profit on this is just extraordinary.
Yeah, it's the chief exec, Sheikh Ahmed bin Saeed Al Maktoum, said the profit was achieved despite a tough market and stiff competition. And our position has always been clear. We embrace competition because it is good for the consumer, for the industry, and also for us. And we just have to stay ahead of our competition. So it's a little bit of a shot here at the US airlines, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah. It's an interesting one. I'm impressed that they were able to pull this amount of profit together, given the circumstances, given the environment, and I think just as importantly, given the amount of competition, especially on key routes. I mean, they own Dubai from an infrastructure and connection perspective, but they're going head to head with people on a lot of routes.
Yeah, absolutely. And because the number is quite staggering. The fact that this runway was closed cost the airline almost $500 million in potential revenue. So that's actually a lot. For other airlines, it would be really something that would actually make them lose money, right?
So it seems like pure scale for them. They're throwing so much capacity out there that they can afford to throw a little bit of a loss at some routes just to stay competitive, just to have a presence.
Yeah, I mean, I've taken a few flights, as I said earlier. Most of them in economy were full, not all in business class, but they were also pretty full. I mean, the capacity, they say it's between 70 and 80%. So they are actually, I mean, it's true. You had this comment on 2 episodes in a row when you said that probably for the US, when we talk about the US, they're adding routes in order to potentially having them before the hammer comes down. So I will report that next week because I'm flying through Milan to JFK. So I'll tell you if that flight is actually, full or not. I have no clue.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. That's because it's quite an unusual routing, isn't it? I wonder who the competition is on that. Alitalia and maybe some of the U.S. airlines.
Yeah, exactly. It's a 5th route, Freedom route. So it's the flight actually starts in Dubai, stops in Milan, and continues. But it's true that if you are in Dubai and want to go to JFK, there's a direct route as well. So I would be interested to see what happens in that last leg. I've basically, when I met you in Hong Kong, it was the same thing because I traveled through Bangkok, and a lot of people actually, just left the aircraft in Bangkok, and the aircraft wasn't full from Bangkok to Hong Kong because again there was 20 minutes later actually from Dubai to Hong Kong a direct flight. I took it because I wanted to heighten my chances of being upgraded.
So I think I wonder why they do that. I wonder if it's that reverse leg is a good. Backfill route, so Hong Kong, Bangkok. Do they do that? Is it?
Yes, they do that. I haven't taken it because on the way back I went directly to Dubai, so I cannot report. But yes, they do that, and I think it's really they're trying to open a lot more of these 5th routes. Most of them are in Asia. The only one that is in Europe, US, is at Milan, JFK. But there are a few of them. I can put the list because I was looking for them. There's a few of them actually in Southeast Asia and obviously in Australia as well. So they do these fish fry, but I don't know. I don't even know if they say what are the capacity on the single legs or if they just count the entire flight. I wouldn't be able to tell you. But anyway, it's a very good news for Emirates. Actually, it was very interesting because when you fly Emirates, by default, when you put your headphones on, even with that, before you start watching a movie or anything else, there's a default channel which is channel 400. And it's called Emirates Interviews by a guy that's called Steve Harvey. And this time, there were 2 interviews. I'll come to the second later. But the first interview was, he was interviewing Ramsey Jurdy. He's linked with the AmCham, so the American Chamber of Commerce. I don't remember the exact title. It was interesting how they spent 20 minutes talking about how the routes through and from the US were increasing trade between the US and the UAE, how it was increasing for both businesses based in Dubai and businesses based in the US. And you could obviously see, even though it was never mentioned, that it was all about this big debate we're having right now. So it was pretty interesting to see.
Yeah, they're throwing everything they can at it.
One thing that was pretty staggering is through the interviews, it was said, I think, that 20% of the trade between the 2 countries is basically Boeing. They're buying aircrafts.
Wow. Well, see, that's another thing that just makes this whole thing even more complicated, isn't it? I mean, it's an American company who are not going to want to see that relationship deteriorate.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's leverage there for not just Emirates, but for the other Middle Eastern carriers to get Boeing to put pressure on the U.S. government to say, look, otherwise, they obviously wouldn't say it directly, but they could, in theory, say, we will stop buying Boeing airplanes unless this gets sorted out in a fair manner, and the whatever fair means is open for interpretation.
Yeah, we'll come to that in a second. But there was another quote there that I really liked because I think it's kind of valid. This Mr. Jurdy said, "Trade follows plane routes," and I think it's
absolutely, yeah, absolutely. You need that connectivity really to open up trade.
So Emirates also, we had mentioned that they had created a first report to answer the U.S. attacks, and they've just added a second one, which is a bit more aggressive. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, it's a bit more aggressive. I think it's really well done, actually. I don't know if I'm sure it comes in a physical form, but the one that we've seen is a PDF on their website, and it's basically not a white paper. It's not nearly as dry as that. It's just a brochure. It's a 20-something page brochure that kind of outlines their case against the accusation. And the first real headline is "Subsidy ? Tosh," which is such a great word.
And then there's this image of partnership for open and fair skies, a level playing field for all, and they slash some words and it becomes partnership for closed and protectionist skies, a level playing field defined by U.S. legacy careers.
It's quite clever. And I think actually one of the lines that really sticks out from this for me is, it says here, quote, "For the record, Emirates does not receive and never has received any form of subsidy from the UAE government. And considering that we have operated to the U.S. since 2004, we fail to understand how we can possibly be competing unfairly in 2015. So it's which is a nice way of saying, this wasn't an issue when we didn't see us as competition.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's a very well organized myth fact kind of busting. Yeah, economic benefit.
There's some interesting things. There's like the commitment to emerging markets, and they break down how many of the U.S. airlines are actually catering for the Middle East, Africa, and Asia. And you can see that, for instance, American Airlines has only 5 routes to Asia, but nil in Africa or the Middle East. United is a bit more, Delta also a bit more. But I mean, compared to what Emirates offers, they say, look, these are routes that you don't cover anyway already, and we are covering them through Dubai. So they also say, coming back to the comment I made about this podcast that is being on the Emirates in-flight entertainment, there has been a 442% growth in U.S. exports to the UAE since Emirates started service in the U.S. in 2004, as you said. So, well, they go into numbers saying, look, there's also win-win here. There are many other businesses, like you said, airports and Boeing, obviously, but others that are winning through having new routes, new possibilities of trade. It's pretty well done. I love I don't know if you've seen it, I love the handy guide to select legacy carrier language.
Yeah, that made me laugh. It's a brilliantly done piece of propaganda, really, isn't it? But it works well, and they have the CEOs and senior leadership of some of the American carriers. They use their own quotes against them.
Yeah. That's very, very well done.
Very clever, and it's obviously done by maybe it's not done by an external agency, but it feels like a PR piece, and it is extremely well done. I have to give them credit.
Yeah, I will post some of the handy guide words dictionary because it's really fun to read. That's why I was starting by saying it's a bit more aggressive. It's not aggressive. It's a bit more like, okay, you want to play, let's play. And the last bit is also interesting because they also go into cargo. They not only show what happens to passengers, but they also show into cargo. And they even say something, use a word that is pretty interesting. They say they basically are the enabler of the new Silk Road. They show all the destinations they cater for India, Southeast Asia, and how they also pursue trade for cargo only, and especially a lot coming from Europe, actually, because the report is not only directed against the US, but also hints at Europe, at Italy, at the European Union. So it's worth a read.
It is worth it, and it really is. If you have a moment, take even a glance through it. It's a really nicely structured document, and I think some of the arguments that Emirates pull out are applicable to the whole argument, not just Emirates' case. So it's worth reading, and again, what are we? We're 14 for 14 episodes on mentioning this, and I don't think it's going to go away. And I don't think it's going to fizzle out either. I think this is something that we are going to keep hearing about, and new pieces of information, new arguments are going to be postured every week.
Yeah.
So get used to it, people.
Another bit that was, so again in that Channel 400, there was an interview of Tim Clark, the CEO. So it's the first time. Usually, actually, I skip that channel because they have, they talk about Dubai and other stuff. But this time you could really feel they talk about the airline again because of this debate. And this interview is actually available online. I'll put the link in the show notes. You can listen to it. It's 20 minutes. Tim Clark is really eloquent. It's pretty amazing what he talks about. He talks about obviously the A380, how iconic this plane is. He even says, and I don't know if you believe that, he says that many people are opting for Emirates not only on price, but because they really want to fly the A380. And even though it might not make sense because it would be an alternate direct route with another carrier, they would choose Emirates because they want to fly the A380. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know where he comes from, when he gets the data from, but it's interesting to see how he talks about it. You go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think maybe not necessarily the A380, but certainly Emirates and the experience of transiting through a purpose-built transit airport like Dubai. I can see that, especially if you're going to save just a little bit of money as well. I'd rather have comfort and reliability and all of that, and a little bit cheaper than discomfort and lost luggage and
and some freedom. I know that it doesn't apply for everyone, but someone like me, I mean, I was able to do a routing leaving from Frankfurt, going to Hong Kong, coming back to Rome, and they wouldn't penalize me because I was not doing a return on the plane. That's of course a hub network they use, but it's actually very agreeable.
Great, though. That's really important.
The thing that it was staggering in that Tim Clark interview, he says we are still in our first phase of expansion.
How is that even possible?
Exactly. You start in 85 because it goes back into, when we sat down in 85 and created a plan that is what we're doing now, executing on. And he still thinks is our first. So for the A380, they have 75 A380s. They are going to 140. That's the order, but they want to order even more.
Wow.
They are retiring some 777 because they want to replace them by the 777X, which is coming very shortly. And he even talks about, so we'll talk about the airport at the end, but he says that Dubai is at 70 million passengers, and he clearly, for the first time I hear it, he clearly hints that basically Emirates at some point will probably move to the new airport, Al Maktoum, which is half an hour away in the middle of the desert, so they have huge room to grow. This airport, when I read the first time about it, they said the airport would cater for 120 million passengers a year, and he says that the airport will eventually cater for 240 million passengers a year. Can you believe that?
That is staggering. Absolutely staggering. Now, the question is the regional infrastructure, air traffic control infrastructure, going to be able to endure that? So they're going to have to invest in that as well, not just in the UAE, but everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere. And finally, he says that he wants by 2025 that Emirates is the airline of choice for consumers. So you say airline, you think Emirates, and he clearly hints at you think smartphone, you think Apple. That's the goal he wants to set. And he even says that we look at interior designers, at fashion, our car makers, and we want to really create that experience in our airline. And that's the goal for 2025. It's lots of confidence.
Yeah, it's amazing to think that they've done this in 30 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because sadly the founding CEO died last week, Maurice Flanagan, and he was part of a 10-man team that in 1985 had 2 leased airplanes and a $10 million US dollar grant from the the UAE government with a quote strict warning not to come back for more. And he only retired 2 years ago, and he died at 86, so he was in it for the long haul. And pretty amazing.
Pretty amazing. Staying in the Middle East, Etihad has replied to the American accusations, right?
Yeah, they did, and I'm really interested to know if there's any cooperation in what they're putting out.
I don't know.
You could call it collusion. I don't know, but they have put out a very aggressive accusatory piece saying that American, Delta, and United have received benefits worth nearly $72 billion over the last 15 years. And that has come in the restructuring in Chapter 11. Now, some people debate whether Chapter 11 equals subsidy, but it doesn't really matter. It's a heck of amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't replied yet. It was done by a quote-unquote independent auditing company called the Risk Advisory Group. And they, the majority of those benefits came from that restructuring under Chapter 11, which yield them $35 billion, $30 billion in pension fund bailouts directly from the U.S. government.
Yeah, directly. That's actually true. We said that many times that the pension is probably the one that is, for me at least, can be called some kind of state aid or subsidy. Because if you offload your entire pension plan to public entities, that's state aid.
Yeah, it's
no matter the good excuses behind. I'm not, by the way, think they had probably to be saved after 9/11 and then again another time later on. But still, you cannot not call state aid when you offload that amount of money to a public entity.
Yeah, it's an extraordinary. I mean, there are a lot of numbers being bandied about. I wonder if anybody who is totally independent is going to get a chance to actually
look at them.
Look at the legitimacy of these numbers on either side.
Yeah.
And see if anyone actually has a case. And if they do have a case, again, what action is gonna be taken? It benefits no one. The consumer is going to lose out no matter what.
Yeah, I agree. I love that in that article you sent me about this. There's a quote says, "We're not going to get into a tit for tat." Well, it kind of looks like it actually, but
yeah, I would suggest that they already have.
So in the U.S., news from Frontier Airlines.
So Frontier Airlines, based out of Denver, they have just got rid of their CEO. Boy, this airline has just gone from plucky little upstart with a really customer-focused, customer-centric attitude to just a crap show. They were bought and then downsized and then bought, and they've just been passed around. And they switched almost exactly a year ago to an ultra low cost model. And when I knew them, they were one of the first airlines in the U.S. to have live satellite TV on all of their airplanes. They were a really good, friendly, small airline. And now they're an ultra low cost carrier. They charge for everything, and they are now ranked the least popular airline in the U.S., even worse than Spirit.
Wow. I remember there was some debate at some point that they had switched the customer call center, and apparently basically you could never reach anyone when you're trying to call it. Very bad reputation for that. They
outsourced a lot of their airport operations. I think they made redundant about 1,200 people as a result. Their on-time performance just went through the floor. It's been a disaster, an absolute disaster.
So do you think the CEO was sacked? Do you think he just resigned because he said, you know what, this airline is going down the drain, or at least its reputation, and I don't want my reputation to be soiled by it? Or do you have any insight or any?
I think the investors thought enough was enough, and this model isn't working, and they needed to do, at least in the investors' eyes, something drastic.
Yeah, strangely, the airline will be now run by a committee of two people, which is a bit...
a board-appointed committee of two people, which, gosh, I mean, who knows if that's going to work? Probably not. I think Frontier's days are numbered, sadly. I think that they will be acquired, or they just won't make it through the next few years, sadly.
Yeah. Have you ever flown them, by the way?
Once, long time ago, and it was fine. It used to be a very popular, beloved airline, and now it's just been ruined.
Oh, well, I guess I will never fly them then.
No, I wouldn't.
But back to Europe, to a story you found a few episodes ago in Cyprus.
Yes, episode 12, we talked about the fact that there was possibly going to be a new airline in Cyprus, but there was a lot of mystery and uncertainty about whether there was actually any truth to this tale. There was a mention of a new airline called Cobalt Air, but we could only find one vaguely written article in a Cypriot newspaper. Well, it turns out that it's true. The Cyprus government has in fact received an application for an AOC from an entity called Cobalt Air. And the people that were rumored to be associated with it are indeed speaking on its behalf. And they have said, yes, we are. We have filed a application. It will take about 4 or 5 months to get a response. And this is interesting. They also hasten to add that Cobalt Air was the name of the registered company and should not be assumed that it will be the name of the airline.
Oh, okay. So it might not be the brand name they will use to fly.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So it'll be interesting to see what comes of this. But they are very bullish about the Cyprus outbound and inbound market, and they think that Cyprus needs its own airline now that that Cyprus Airways is gone.
Mm-hmm.
So good luck to them. It'll be interesting to see how this actually pans out. Maybe by the end of the year, Cyprus will have a new airline.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, maybe they're trying to, on a smaller scale, but to aim at a similar model and, Turkish and these Emirates, because, I mean, besides going to Cyprus for holidays and a bit for business, they also have this kind of centrally located, the way they are located in the sea means that they are in the middle between Europe and the Middle East. So maybe they could try something like that. I don't know. It's very still vague as to what they will exactly do. I don't know. I remember because one of the major hindrance Cyprus Airways had, besides mismanagement that probably happened, was that I remember they were never able to fly over Turkey. Or they had to avoid Turkey, which created more costs. And I'm wondering if that new airline will have that. Basically, if Turkey will ban them. I don't know if it's Turkey banning them or Cyprus Airlines avoiding on purpose for political reasons. I never quite understood because I never looked into it. But that's something that would be interesting to see.
That's a great question, because in some instances it would be a real addition to the routing costs, fuel costs, time. And also, I think a lot of people from Cyprus would perhaps, I mean, irrespective of political issues, connecting in Istanbul with Turkish Airways gives you a lot of options to fly internationally.
Correct.
So now I don't know what the options are for getting in and out of Cyprus, but
well, not a lot actually, not a lot. When I was flying there, you couldn't fly to Istanbul. You had to fly to Athens and then back, or you could fly, which I did. I always took Emirates through Dubai and then flew everywhere else. And if I wanted to come to the UK, I would fly BA. Or Cyprus Airways sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, so the Dubai link is there, but the Istanbul one is certainly, I would assume, more convenient if they can actually make that happen. So that's a great point. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see if these guys can make it work. Good luck to them. It's always nice to see a new airline being born.
Exactly. So we'll follow up on that when we know more. Staying in Europe, a few countries on the left in Rome, where I was actually just last night. There was a fire a week ago. Do you want to go ahead with that one?
Well, I mean, you saw the results of it firsthand.
My God, yeah.
It sounds like an absolute disaster. And I love you sent me a message from Rome saying there's no lounge access for anybody today because it burnt down.
That's what the PA guy told me. I arrive and they say, it burned down, and look. But you know what? So there was a fire. It was May 7th. So it's exactly a week ago. Really pretty big fire. It happened, I think, was it during the night or the early hours of the day or the late hours of the day? I don't remember. But
yeah, shortly after midnight.
Okay, exactly. So it went pretty fast, pretty quickly. I think from a restaurant they're saying. But anyway, the result, the images were kind of staggering, and it's at T3, Terminal 3, which is one of the 3 terminals which handles a lot of European flights out of Italia. So Alitalia moved out of it, but still a lot of flights were cancelled. And a week after, so last night, there were still lots of flights cancelled. So BA, I think, has 5 flights per day, out of which only 3 are operating currently. Their lounge has been burned down. But the most staggering thing is when you enter the airport, Terminal 3 of Fiumicino Airport, the first thing is that smell. It's still there. And it's really so. And you see a lot of the staff are wearing these face masks with filters because I guess they have to work in it the whole day, and it's really strong. And then when you go past security, which by the way is a disaster, when you go past security, you have a first bit of shops. I mean, there should be there, but they all closed. And I could see one when the people were just simply cleaning out the mess and cleaning all the residue from the fire, which happened just besides it. And you can see that the part of the airport is closed. They've put like big banners just so you cannot see behind it. Some of the lighting seemed off. I'm sure if not all the lighting was working. So it's a pretty bizarre experience, to be honest.
I would imagine so, and we should hasten to add that I don't think anybody was hurt or killed in.
I don't think so either.
In this fire, which is great news. I think probably because of the time of day it happened, but it meant that a lot of planes were out of position because they couldn't leave for days. Obviously, a lot of passengers were stranded, but it could have been so much worse. But I know that when we were in Hong Kong, you were, and rightly so, wondering if you were ever going to get there. I mean,
because my Emirates flights the first day of the fire, I think 2 out of 3 were canceled. There are 3 direct every day, and then the second day, I think 2 or 1 was canceled. I mean, it was unsure. It's just the day when I left. Remember, I was telling you, well, finally they told me that my flight at least will get there, and I'm not even sure. But I cannot tell for sure. I'm not even sure actually. Deplaned at T3 because it seemed I was deplaning somewhere else. I cannot be sure, but I'm sure they have at Fiumicino to have to find contingency planning to how do we get all this capacity when we have maybe a third of our airport, of our terminal is closed.
I wouldn't want to be solving that problem.
No, and it's not. Sorry for my friend Italian fans. It's not a fantastic airport already, although the G gates where I was are, but I will do one day the Fiumicino airport as in the show. But yeah, staggering experience. Anecdotically, because of all this, Alitalia had to basically fly planes full of just crew over to the cities where they didn't have any crew there, so they had to fly to New York, to Miami, etc., because they just had to fly crew there to be able to bring back the planes according to regulations.
Oh my god! So just cost after cost after cost.
Yeah, exactly. Well, anyway, pretty intense experience, and I hope. I mean, I've seen they started working on it. The airport was already having some renovation. I don't think the renovation is the reason of the fire, obviously, but I think that just adds more costs and more delays, and I think it won't be solved anytime soon. I mean, when you have a third, I'm saying a third because that's what I heard. It could be less, could be a bit more. Of a terminal that's being unusable, you cannot just do that in a week, just cleaned out.
No, oh God.
Yeah. There were even signs, and that's the last bit, when you enter the airport about the quality of the air, like to reassure passengers that, you might smell something, but don't worry, you're not going to have any kind of intoxication because you're breathing.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, well.
Whether or not it's true, I don't know.
Well, I'm still alive.
Yeah, we'll know if you start to sound different on the next podcast.
It's not exactly a story, but I was flying yesterday, so BA from Rome to London Heathrow. Oh, by the way, I think I told you the story. The guy, I'm sorry again because I'm going to bash a little bit here, but the guy, it never happened to me. Imagine that. I had to check in luggage because I've done all these cities, so I didn't have enough room in a carry-on. I'm supposed to fly to London to Heathrow, and that's what my ticket says. And I see, and I'm glad I paid attention that the ground staff, actually tagged my luggage LGW, so Gatwick. And I was looking at him and said, "The hell are you doing? My luggage is not going to Gatwick while I'm flying to Heathrow."
How did they even do that? Because
I don't know. And the guy said, I told him because I was paying attention, and probably because I knew also these airport codes. We've been talking so many times, and then he just changed it. But I'm not even sure there was a flight going to Gatwick.
So your bag could have gone on vacation without you.
Yeah, and I'm flying tomorrow again. I would have been bagless. Anyway, so yeah, and I was flying it in the in-flight magazine of BA. There was an article about First Officer Mark, and I'm trying to pronounce his name correctly, Van Honecker. I guess that's the way you pronounce it. And he just wrote a book that will come out, or it just came out. It's called Skyfaring, A Journey with a Pilot. It's a really good book. And there's been today, we've exchanged that just before recording the show, an article in the New York Times that has been adapted from his book. Have you read it?
The article is just beautiful. I mean, the New York Times did a great job of laying out the content, but it's such a accessible article for the general public, but technical and nuanced enough for everybody listening to this podcast, including us. I was just
it's fantastic.
It's just mesmerizing. It's well written, and it's at the most basic level. It's really, really well written.
And the thing that I really loved about it is that you can feel that although he's a seasoned pilot, he hasn't really lost any of the sense of wonder that is flying. Flying an airplane is still some kind of magical thing. And when you read this article, you're like, wow, this is still fantastic. That's something that really kind of, I want to read his book now because I've read this. Yeah,
I'm excited for his book to come out. This article has been doing the rounds on social media, even among people who travel but aren't like us and totally obsessed with it. So I think it shows the potency of the subject.
Yeah,
if you can get the tone right, and he does such a good job.
And staggeringly enough, because that's what it was a small interview in the magazine, a BA in-flight magazine. This guy says and answers, you were a late starter. What made you start flying? And listen to this. He said, I worked for a management and IT consultancy before I became a pilot. I traveled regularly, racking up hundreds of thousands of miles on British Airways and other airlines. And it reminded me that my childhood love for airplanes and flying had never gone away. And then suddenly he decided to become a pilot. So he had another life before, and then suddenly, like as an IT consultant, decides to, I really love flying. I do that all the time as a traveler, but I want to be a pilot.
I missed that bit. How old was he when he made the switch?
It doesn't say in the article. I will have to, maybe he says in his book, but clearly if he had racked up hundreds of thousands of miles, he couldn't have done that when he was 20, right?
No.
so
there, I mean, don't think this has passed you by.
Yeah, and he says that he flew then the... he started flying in 2001, first on the A320, and he loves the A320, but he really wanted to fly the 747, and that's why he flies today, the 747-400. Then, and he goes on about how it's great to fly about it, and he says that his favorite route in terms of sightseeing is London to San Francisco, because you see England, Scotland, the glacier of Greenland, etc., and then you come back. You can feel that this guy, and even though he's flying for like 14 years, 2001, he still loves flying. The same thing we just said about the article in the New York Times. That's really fantastic to read. It may be a hope for you and me if we ever want to be pilots.
Well, it is out in the UK, his book.
Yes.
And it comes out in the US in June. It will be on... definitely on my list.
Yeah, and he also writes. I've learned that he writes in The Economist. I mean, this guy does it all. I mean, it's crazy.
I'm going to order it right now.
Yeah,
I'm so excited to read this. My other favorite book, while we're on the subject, about from a pilot's perspective, is Cockpit Confidential.
Oh yeah.
Which is by the guy that does the Ask a Pilot blog, and it is really, really good, really interesting, quite ranty at times, which is entertaining, but good technical. FAQ based book. It's really good.
And I'll finish by a quote from the New York Times, because I really loved it. He says, "The technologies that bring us across the sky still amaze me. We saw Tokyo from so far away. We saw it from the other side of the world, through fog and cloud and the skies of many countries. We saw it from London. We saw it from another day." When he writes that, you're like,
that's nice. It's just
he loves
captivating.
Flying.
Yeah.
He's not bored of being a pilot. Talking about being a pilot, a small article that I stumbled upon the other day says Asia is running out of pilots. I don't know if you've read it. There are some numbers that are pretty. Make you think twice about. There's a massive growth in Southeast Asia, in flying, but not only, of course, in other countries as well. Although reports by both Boeing and Airbus show that a big part of the growth will be there, and they don't have enough pilots.
Yeah, it's alarming because then standards change, maybe not always for the better. So you get into training issues, you get into experience issues. So it is a worry. Couple that with some of the infrastructure issues that they've had in Southeast Asia, especially in Indonesia with air traffic control.
Thailand as well had some
issues. Regulatory issues. The Philippines is finally pulling itself out of decades of flight restrictions to the West. This is probably just going to compound that issue unless they find a way to either import pilots. Or
but we know that pilots are also like on the short in the US, for instance. They say they're not training enough. So it's like there are better infrastructures of training in Europe and in the North America than there is in Asia. There's one number that is crazy. It says that Boeing estimates that between 2014 and 2033, Asia Pacific will need 216,000 new pilots, and they're only capable of training 5,000 a year now. I mean,
wow, that's such a huge disconnect.
Japan has just raised the age of retirement for pilots from, I think, 64 to 67 just to cope with that. And actually, there are some carriers in Japan that have cut back on routes because they just couldn't find the pilots to fly the planes. It's actually a real bottleneck problem. Interestingly, and I wanted to have your thoughts about this. Here the article says, and I'm not sure who wrote it, but the article says that maybe Airbus and Boeing should step up, because they say, okay, if Airbus and Boeing really want to sell all these planes to cater for all these routes, they should also participate. They should participate in the effort.
I agree with that. I think it would help streamline the process a lot. But you see the competitive hiring nature if you read the back of Flight International or Airliner World or any of these magazines. There's all these ads for pilots, and they list the perks, right? It's not just what is required of you in terms of experience. It's you get this and you get that. And of course, all of the tax-free countries have got a massive benefit in being tax-free. So you get tax-free salary, housing benefits, all that stuff.
Are you talking about Dubai?
Yeah, but some other places as well, like Oman and some other places that have other similar arrangements. But it's becoming... I'm still amazed that salaries are relatively low, especially, like you say, in the U.S.
Oh, wow, in the U.S. Especially when the amount of debt you have to put yourself in just in order to get your license.
It's crazy. So this has major problem written all over it unless they can come up with some kind of solution. And I don't know what they're going to do. I really don't.
No, I don't know either. So maybe the Boeing Airbus route, they will have to wake up. Maybe they said Boeing predicted that over the next 2 decades, they will have to sell for almost 14,000 planes. So you'll have to have the pilots for that. And if they want to sell those planes, as I said earlier, they might have to help just, train those pilots. I don't know.
Wow. Yeah, that's untenable.
So still, we're going to the innovation side, part of the show, and talking about Asia, talking about our airline in Asia. You flew CX, you flew Cathay. So how was that? I know you love that airline.
I do love that airline. I have a massive emotional investment in Cathay, but it had been a long time since I'd flown them, and I did 4 legs, London, Hong Kong, Singapore, Hong Kong, London, and man, were they good. They were so good. The long haul legs I did in premium economy. The short haul legs were in economy. None of the planes I was on was older than 1 year.
Wow.
The 777 ER, 300 ER that I was on last night was 5 months old.
That's amazing.
And God, I think it was the first time I'd been on a 777 300 ER, and it is a loud plane taking off with the flaps down. As soon as those flaps go up, silence.
Silence. Yeah, I love that plane.
It is an amazing airplane, beautifully done.
I think that's the plane I've taken the most for long haul. It's 777X, 777 300 ER. Yeah,
it's a great airplane, and Cathay's premium economy product is outstanding. It's a small cabin, like most premium economy cabins are, but it had a really healthy recline, big screen, the live camera, which of course I love. So I had the seat next to me open, so I had the live camera on one screen and my movie on the other. The IFE is good. The service is what nails it. It's like nothing I've experienced in the UK or US. It was so good. In flight, on the ground, it was typical airport stuff. But
even in Hong Kong,
yeah, it was good, but not consistent. Okay. Whereas in the air, it was, even in economy, nothing was too much hassle for them. Getting a cup of coffee 20 minutes before touchdown. No problem. Would you like some snacks or anything with that?
That's
nice. Just such a good airline. And I only discovered after I got back that the pilots have been working to rule for the last few weeks because of a pay dispute. I read it in the South China Morning Post on my flight. Wouldn't have known it.
Wow.
Our flights were on time. They were full. Man, were they full. 5 times daily.
Even in premium economy when you flew? Or?
Premium economy.
Not entirely, but almost.
On the way home yesterday, totally full, every single seat. On the way out, a little lighter.
Oh, so you didn't have your two screens on the way
No.
back?
But the food was good. The food was excellent. I was really impressed. Just an excellent airline experience.
And how's the seat in premium economy?
Fantastic.
Right?
Really
Okay.
good. I slept and felt great. I'm impressed. Every premium economy seat gets a USB port, a full power plug, big, beautiful, crystal clear screen. Yeah, I was impressed with Cathay
That's amazing.
tremendously. I also learned that they are the largest operator of the A330 in the world.
Oh, didn't know that either.
Yeah,
Wow.
they have over 50 of them.
Is that what you flew from Hong Kong to Singapore?
To Singapore, yeah, which was I think they operate the 330 and the 777-200 on that route right now,
Oh, wow. Okay.
and it was it was very impressive all around. Oh, and another benefit, of course, being in Hong Kong, I could use in-town check-in. So in the center of Hong Kong, I could check in up to a day early for my flight and leave my bag and enjoy the sights and sounds of Hong Kong. So if I have a 11 p.m. flight and I need to check out of my hotel at noon, I just do in-town check-in, get my boarding pass in town, and then jump on the Airport Express 50 minutes before my flight, and bam, I'm done.
Can you even check in your luggage?
Yeah, that's the whole point.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
really
it's-
good.
It's very cool, and it's not just Cathay that offer that. There's a few other, obviously Dragonair, which is a subsidiary of Cathay, and a few other airlines offer this service in Hong Kong. But it's super useful. Both Greg, my producer for the show, and I used it, and it was a real benefit.
Yeah, it is actually. I failed to mention it when we talked about Geneva, but I know that in Switzerland, where I come from, you can do that. Especially if you go for skiing, and then you want to, instead of dragging your skis and all your equipment back to the airport and then back home, you can check at most of the train station, the railway station.
That's clever.
Yeah, and they deal with it. They just transport it by train to the airport. They put it in the plane, and you just get it back when you land at your destination. So it's also, I think these kind of passenger experience expansion are really neat, because you don't have to, like you just said, you're just for a few hours in Hong Kong, or you have like a late hour flight and you don't want to carry everything with you. That's perfect.
It makes a lot of sense. I mean, but my economy experience must pale in comparison to some of the legs that you flew while we met in Hong Kong.
Yeah, I flew the three classes of Emirates. I flew economy, I flew business, and I flew first. I must admit.
Let's be fair. First on Emirates is really the holy grail of travel.
I mean, I had been lucky to have done it in the past a few times. Again, upgraded by the gods at Emirates. Maybe they're listening to this show, and I don't know. So thank you guys. I really appreciate it. No, it is quite the experience. Honestly, it's imagine I'm 6'4", 195, 96. And, if I recline my bed completely, I still have room. My feet are not touching the end of the wall. There's no overhead compartment in first, basically. So that it makes you feel that the plane is much larger than it is. And it's on the upper deck of the A380 I'll come to it with the other amenities in a second. So there's no overhead. I feel like a lot of space. You put just your luggage in front of you on the side. I mean, there's so much room in that thing. You can have your privacy, meaning you have a door, sliding doors, and close and open at will. Food is on demand, so there's no time. You just ask whenever, and 20 minutes later you have food. And obviously the food is, I'm gonna not list everything I had because I would just make people jealous. But you have these wines. You have a list of wines, and they're like some 1990 reds from France, and
there's only 14 seats, right?
Yeah, mine was 14 seats exactly. Yeah, I was very lucky to have a window one because obviously it was not full. So I had a window one, so I could see you, which is very nice on an A380 because most of the seats, if you've ever flown an A380, whether you are on the upper or the lower deck, you see the wing because the wing is so massive.
Yeah, it really is.
Whereas if you're in first, obviously you're very much forward, so you're just in front of the wing, thus having a true view of either the airport or the rest. There are, as all A380s, all the cameras as well. The tail one is always my favorite. I love Airbus for doing that. So the experience is honestly staggering. I slept, to be honest, a lot. So I wish. I mean, the screen is massive. The IFE the in-flight entertainment from Emirates is always ranked number one in the world. It's obviously available in all classes. Yes, 1,500 channels. There are tons and tons of movies in so many languages, from French to Japanese to Indian. Again, they cater for all these nationalities and destinations. So but you have this benefit of this huge, massive screen in front of you. Amazing. No, it's quite an experience. Of course, the ceiling, the floor, of the cabin during nighttime has a little stars. So you see, there must be little LEDs, so you feel like you have a starry night. And obviously, so I had to try it once in my life, the shower. The spa, as they call it.
Shower on an airplane. I mean, come on.
I did that once. I didn't need a shower because I had taken a shower.
Oh, you have to.
On the layover in Dubai. But I said, okay, come on. I'm in this plane. I have to do it. So they prepare. They ask you when you enter the plane, they ask you whether or not you want to take a shower, because so they can plan if there are many passengers wanting. So the two front toilets, which are usually lavatories, are very small, are massive. I mean, honestly, I could sleep there, and they're like twice my size. So there must be at least 4 meters deep. There's like amenities, like everything you want, from shaving cream to all the kind of cream, lotion for your skin and stuff like that. And so they put like they put it like in a shower, the towels and everything for you. So you enter, and in the shower, which is actually tall enough. Again, I'm tall, and my head was not touching the above, or I was not feeling cramped or anything. And you have a timer. So you have, as soon as you launch the water, you have 20 minutes. And it's not 20 minutes of water, it's 20 minutes. And you see the timer. Of course, I didn't need a 20-minute shower, but it's just, I'll put some pictures of that little logo that tells you 20 minutes. The staggering thing, though, for me, it's, so I did my shower while the plane was a bit shaky. So there was a fastened seat belt on but they said, don't worry, that's okay. So I had a little sign that tells in yellow that told me I should go back to my seat, but there was no emergency. Though there's one sign that I've never seen in any other plane in the world, obviously, because none other has their shower. There's a sign in green, because I'm sure they want to reassure you, where basically it's a little, you see an icon of someone running towards an oxygen mask.
Oh, of course, because they couldn't have an oxygen mask in the shower.
And I don't know how that works, because, if I had that sign, it means like, first of all, you're naked in your shower, and what the hell do? Do you run to your seat, or?
Because maybe there's one in the broader, because that has like a little bathroom area.
Yeah, it's a bathroom area, yeah.
Because you have, once.
But I'm not sure, because there's no seat belts, so I'm sure They say they give you a little brochure at the beginning describing the spa, they call it, describing this area, and in it they say, in case of emergency, crew will come to help you back to your seat. So I think they're actually bringing you back to your seat. But still, this sign is, I'll put a picture. This sign is like
crazy.
What would you do?
The things they would have had to think about to build that feature is incredible.
And also it takes a lot of room. So basically, we mentioned many times the Etihad residence, and it's certain that the ceiling is lower because we're at the very front of the upper deck, which is, you cannot put a lot of seats there. So which is why, in terms of utilization of the space, Etihad decided to put this residence there, because anyway the ceiling is not too high, whereas Emirates decided they could have added maybe 2 other first class seats. Yeah. So they said, 2 first class seats would not change maybe our business model, so they did those. So that was honestly very impressive. On the way back, because I still want to mention this, on the way back, so it was not in first, but so I was in Dubai. I told you a little bit of story earlier, but I was in Dubai, and normally we'll come to that when we talk about the airport. When you are the A380 dedicated terminal, you basically board directly from the terminal to your plane. It's really well done. And this time I go to a gate which is a little bit outside, and then I take a bus, and I'm like, what is going on here? And the bus honestly drove for 20 minutes. We actually did an entire tour of the airport, because the flight, the A380 that I was supposed to take to Rome, was parked in the middle of the airport. So for the first time in my life, I actually boarded the A380 with stairs.
Wow. So did they use they must have used, well, maybe not.
The lower doors. The lower
They
doors.
used the lower doors, and then anybody on the upper deck had to go up the internal stairs.
Exactly, which I never had seen it open. There's a stair at the back, which is more like a circular stair.
Yes.
And there's this massive, very elegant stair in the front, and I was always... But this stair takes too much space for nothing, and they actually put a little chain to prevent people from going up unusually. But this time, for the first time, I was able to see that the stairs was actually utilized by people going up in the upper deck. But it's still, I took a lot of pictures, obviously, because boarding that massive airplane from the ground is quite something, actually.
I would imagine.
What
a sense of perspective you must have got.
Yeah, they told us that it was because they had a last-minute change of plane, so maybe they didn't have time to bring it to a door, or... That's the assumption you and me made, that basically Dubai Airport is already running out of gates.
Yeah, quite possibly. I think that might actually be the case.
Yeah, so it's anyway, very great experience. I'll put some pictures when I have the chance, probably in the next few days, because I'm traveling off the seat and the shower, because that's really something to...
That's such a unique experience.
A unique experience. I've taken a shower in the skies. I can say I have done it. Check.
Off the bucket list.
Yeah, talking back to economy, Emirates is actually, I just mentioned the IFE is very good. They have very good also headsets. So I usually travel with my Bose Quiet Comfort 15. They're quite expensive, but they are very good noise cancelling headphones. You almost hear nothing, although the A380 is very quiet. But Emirates offers in all classes, of course, the best one is in first, but in all classes a pretty good headset, and they will release a new headset in economy that apparently is even better. It will be a square one, also noise cancelling. Again, investing in a customer experience, and I think it's a good product. So even if you fly economy, try Emirates once. I think it's a good product. I know that maybe some listeners will be tired of us talking Emirates, or me at least talking Emirates. Of course, I've been lucky to be upgraded, so they're kind of buying my voice, but not. I'm still remaining independent. But it is a very quality product, and I'm sure Cathay is as well. Compared to some of the other airlines we sometimes fly, you and May, these are very good products.
Cathays were good, in both the classes I flew in. But what ticked me off about Cathays was they were the proprietary connector, so I couldn't, even if I wanted to use my own headphones on the IFE, I couldn't.
How they were laid out, like the 3-prong thing?
Yeah, the 3-pronged triangle.
Yeah, but Emirates has that, and so what I have an adapter on my Bose, but that plays with any, of course, headphones. It's only 2, so it's a divider. Instead of having a single jack, you have a 2 jack left and right. What I learned is that it's working because the third one is actually the power for the noise cancelling. And since my headphones have a little battery within them, the third one is not needed to work. So I was able to make it work even in Emirates.
Interesting. Okay.
So you should try. Maybe next time you should try, because I think it works. I think the third one is really just the power for the noise cancelling system.
That's good to know.
Yeah. So anyway, but it's good products. Of course, for long haul, it's always appreciable to have these type of things.
Yeah, especially if you're not on one of those airlines and you do have crappy headphones.
Yeah, headphones, exactly. I'll put a link just to finish off this. I'll put a link just so people have an idea of the program that you can have on IFE at Emirates, and it's like a 6 or 7 page long PDF that Emirates provides and changes every month. And you understand why it's called one of the best IFE. It's called ICE, Information, Communication, Entertainment. You have games, you can communicate between seats. You can have, of course, Wi-Fi and everything. It's honestly, you can even shop because, of course, of course, obviously. One thing that it's pretty well done. It's that when you land, there's a video running, and it explains you what will be the next steps, like how do you deplane, and then where you should go, immigration, customs, everything. And I think it's a pretty good thing to do, to kind of not just tell you, oh, your gate, you'll figure it out when you arrive at the screen. But can have a company. I mean, maybe someone like you and me, Alex, we might not need that because we're more, seasoned travelers. But I think for, people that travel less, it's actually pretty agreeable to have this. It's really well done.
Yeah, it's a good idea. I've seen it on a few airlines. Cathay do the live gates for connecting flights when you're coming into Hong Kong, and also show what carousel your bags are going to be coming out on, which is pretty cool. But yeah, especially somewhere like Dubai, where if you've never been there before, I would imagine it could be very overwhelming.
Yeah. I mean, we'll go to that in a bit when we talk about the airport. Staying in airports, coming out of airports, but still talking about connectivity. You and me were staying at a hotel in Hong Kong called Icon, and it had one feature that we both really enjoyed.
This was one of the reasons why I booked this hotel, which turned out to be one of the best hotels I've ever stayed at. So,
yeah, thank you, because you recommended it to me. So you were the reason I stayed there. So thank you.
Yeah, Hotel Icon in Tsim Sha Tsui, which actually turns out is not an experiment, but a partnership between the Shangri-La Group and the Hong Kong Polytechnic University as a kind of a training and experimentation platform. But just phenomenal experience there. But one of the things that you get as a guest there is the use of an Android smartphone with unlimited data and unlimited international calls, which is unbelievable.
Staggering.
So you can go and call all your buddies, back home for as long as you want, no charge. And of course, having unlimited data is extremely useful.
And you can tether, so meaning I was using it as a Wi-Fi hotspot. So basically, I just had it in my pocket. I was still being able to use my own phone. So I didn't have, didn't want to having to logging on Facebook and all that stuff on that Android phone, but you can simply tether. And for all the time we were there, you and me communicate for free.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I did. My phone service lets me roam without any issues in Hong Kong, but when you're roaming, you kind of get knocked down the priority list on the cell
Speed,
towers.
yeah.
So actually, and I was only on 3G, but these phones were 4G. So I just turned on, like Paul said, the Wi-Fi hotspot and tethered my phone, and it was just so useful. It turns out, after having a conversation with one of the founders of our app of the week, that this is actually a startup called Handy.
Yeah, that was the name of the... Oh, I didn't know that. That was the name of the phone, actually.
Handy.travel. So it's a service provided not by the hotels, but by this startup, Handy.travel, that put smartphones into hotels. And the smartphone was loaded up with ancillary, quite useful content about what to do. About
the city, the shopping,
yeah, maps, and all that kind of thing. So really, really good. And I think this is going to be something that we see more and more of. It's a really good idea, or at least from my perspective. Whether or not there's any business model behind it, I don't care, because it was a really good feature.
Exactly. I don't care if the money comes from a partnership with a hotel, or it comes from, for like you just said, there was a lot of, you could have some shopping and some discounts and some shops and stuff. Like the first screen, the main screen was offers and also tips about the city and etc. And honestly, it's well done, extremely useful, and for me, and for you as well, it's something that would say, I'd go to this hotel just because of that.
Yeah.
Basically. I mean, the hotel was amazing, by the way. There's other really nice features. We both were upgraded, lucky us. But it's not just a hotel. Even if you're not upgraded, it's a great hotel, great location, very nice rooms, Wi-Fi and everything, and that phone. So, I mean, if I had that phone, even with a crappy hotel, for me, I would I think I'm going to go for them. It's an amazing extension of that experience we keep talking about when we travel.
Absolutely.
Still talking about experience, there was this article on the New York Times. Asia builds best airports, basically. We just had the experience. I mean, we were in Hong Kong. We talked about Hong Kong. I hadn't been in Hong Kong for a bit, so it was a pretty cool airport. I liked it a lot.
It's a good airport. It's very well laid out. It's nice and airy. There's great views. They have outbound immigration in Hong Kong, which tends to slow things down a little bit, but it's a good airport. It's a good airport.
And we both mentioned that there were airports like Changi, obviously in Singapore. You were there. It is a pretty fantastic airport, especially in terms of what you can do. Did you enjoy any of it, or you just like food directly?
It's a good question. I got to Changi yesterday. Gosh, it was yesterday morning at 4:00 in the morning local time. I have to say, Changi is a phenomenal airport. Terminal 1, which
yeah.
is where is starting to get a little bit tired.
Old, yeah, it's the oldest one. Yeah, it's true. It's the central one. Is a bit. You can, if you have time, you can, and I would recommend to anyone, you can just walk next on Terminal 3 or 2 because they're walkable distance. But it's true that Terminal 1 is a bit like tired. Is the right term to use? Yeah.
Yeah. So and they acknowledge that they're working on a massive expansion project at Changi. But yeah, great airport. Great airport.
Yeah, that's actually what they. The point of the article is that these expansion plan you just mentioned, Changi, which you had mentioned, they're creating that new. There's a new terminal, plus they're creating that kind of central thing. It was going to be a mall. We mentioned Seoul, Incheon, which also is creating this whole experience where there's a entertainment center. The staggeringly, this article mentions that globally, $385 billion worth dollars of projects are in progress, especially in China and the Middle East and Asia. Obviously, that's a lot of money to improving the experience of airports. And currently, when you have all the ratings about airports, always in the top 5, besides Munich, that we also covered, it's usually Asian airports, and they are overall better. I mean, I don't know if you agree, but overall the experience,
absolutely. I think head and shoulders.
And that's the fun bit is that obviously they compare that to American airports, which I know I'm a specialist of saying they look dull, but this is like what they say. They say, well, there's no comparison, and though there are improvements, we mentioned a few improvements by airlines or their lounges in the previous episode, but they are also investing, but they are apparently having, some of the airports have difficulty finding financing for these investments.
Which is staggering, given what we've just spent the last hour and 7 minutes talking about, that the airlines are facilitating so much international and intercontinental trade that not investing in the infrastructure to facilitate that trade is beyond stupid.
And also, one thing that is very true in American airports is that they're maximizing the space. And this is why sometimes they look like malls, more like than an airport, because they're like, we're gonna rent every single inch of space and try to do something that will create revenue.
Hong Kong airport feels like that.
True.
Downstairs,
yeah, absolutely.
Before the gates. I mean, you could shop there for hours and hours and hours, and eat there for hours and hours.
Yeah, but the what I was trying to say is that at least in Asian airports, these malls, because they are also malls, Changi, all these, but they have. They're beautifully designed, or at least okay designed. Where in the US, you sometimes really look like you're at Walmart. No, I'm exaggerating, but it's like there are lots of stuff to buy, so at least you have stuff to do, which usually is shopping, but it's not really like a very glamorous experience. And again, I'm not saying that all airports should be like, Doha or something like that, because that's not possible. But I think there's a balance in there. In the podcast related to it, so again, this is how I found this story. Again, can I send me the link to the podcast of Slate Money, and they talk for about 15 minutes about that. I'll put the link in the show. It's a very good podcast to listen to if you like podcasts. And it's interesting because they have a debate about the exact same debate we're having here. They actually invited Felix Salmon. I don't know if you know this guy. He's a very... he says that he prefers airports like Lucy, like we had last week, because he wants to go in and out. He doesn't care about the rest. Yeah. And but I think they make that mistake of conflating an airport and a mall and not understanding that an airport can be utilitarian and a little bit also nicely designed as well. And we mentioned Munich. Munich's example is not like in your face, but it's very well laid out. You can still shop, but at the same time, it's very well done. There's a balance.
Exactly right. They've got that balance of the Lucy passenger and also the person who's got 6 hours to kill.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's not easy. And so kudos to them. It's a great airport. Both of them are great airports. Lucy's a great airport. Munich is a great airport. Hong Kong is a great airport.
And the one thing they say, I think, is right. They say, and I think it's a fair argument. Say people go to Paris anyway, whether or not they're Charles de Gaulle, and they go to New York anyway, whether or not there's JFK. So at least they say that, well, the incentive to create experiences might not be as much in a city that is established already for both trade and tourism, and that what we see in the Middle East or Incheon is a bit of nation branding. It's like, look, this is what we achieved, right? And I'll
it's
admit
the first thing that you experience as a visitor to that
yeah.
country, right? I get that.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
That's a good point. Another little bit of news that I've heard before we go to the app of the week that you're going to mention, but I thought about you when I read it. It's not directly linked to airports, but you said you asked Dan Rubin how to make a good picture from a plane window.
Yes.
And we'll invite him one day for him to explain us how he does it. But there was this MIT patent that was just released. They invented something that when you take a picture of any glass, so there's a window or there's a pane of glass in front of you, you get that reflection of you or the background. So they invented something that basically erases it all. So there's no window anymore. And that would be great to have in our iPhones.
That's amazing.
So I thought about you. That would be amazing to be able to do that from a plane window. Then you wouldn't have to think about the glare and everything. Everything would just be perfect. Anyway, we'll ask Ruben, Dan, about this.
Yeah, Dan will be the expert. I'd love his thoughts on this as well. But what a technological achievement, an algorithm that removes the reflection from photos. That's cool.
That's cool, yeah, exactly. So the app of the week, it's not exactly related because it's part of the experience, but you had an experience with it. You actually used it, so tell us.
I did. The app is called Hotel Quickly, and it is a last-minute or same-day hotel booking app. Now, you may be familiar with Hotels Tonight, which is based in the U.S. and a very U.S.-centric app. This is similar. There are differences, notable differences, but focused more on Asia. And I actually met one of the founders in Hong Kong. He was connected by a mutual friend, and it was really, really interesting conversation about the different consumer mindsets and last-minute travel markets in Asia compared to the U.S. All that aside, I decided to change some flights around, or had to change some flights around, which meant I was going to be having an extra unplanned day in Hong Kong. And I thought, all right, I'll put this app to the test. So I landed in Hong Kong, and they have a similar thing like Hotels Tonight where the sales don't come online until a certain point in the day. And in their time, in Hotel Quickly, it's 8 a.m. local time. Well, my flight took off at 6:45, so I had to wait until I landed at 10:30. So I collected my bag, jumped on the Airport Express, and by the time I'd got to not even halfway to Hong Kong, I had found a 4-star hotel in the middle of Wan Chai on Hong Kong Island. Very good hotel, well reviewed. And it was, I think I paid £48.
Wow.
And for those of you that have searched for hotels in Hong Kong, you can understand Paul's reaction. That's a hell of a price.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the experience was really, really good. I could see the amenities. I could read other people's reviews. The payment process was simple. There was no issue. When I got to the hotel, they were expecting me. They actually upgraded me. Yeah, it's a great app. I'm not that type of person, but now I think having had such a seamless experience, I will do that. When I challenged him and said, "Look, man, I'm not going to come to Hong Kong from London and not have a hotel booked." He's like, "Yeah, you're not really the audience, although some people do." He said, a lot of people are looking at kind of weekend breaks or that type of thing and being inspired by the rates that they see available and then kind of reverse planning from there, which I hadn't considered. And that, it makes a lot of sense. So kudos to the Hotel Quickly guys. They are all over Asia. They've raised like over $5 million in funding, which is very, very good for Hong Kong. They're kind of flying the Hong Kong flag there. So keep going, guys. And maybe we'll get them on the show one day to talk about that type of booking mentality that still freaks me out a little bit.
Yeah, well, you said it. I mean, we were both going to Hong Kong to had like 4 nights or whatever. I mean, if it was for a weekend, I might have done it. Like you, I would be freaked out. Like, I want everything planned. I don't want to go there and I know to have a hotel. But it's also the thing that, I want to be in the same place for 4 nights in a row. So I would love to have, if I know that the app would allow me to find a hotel for, let's say, 3 nights in a row, I might. If it's just for one night, and I'm like, okay, should I do that every day? So it becomes a pain.
No, it was multiple nights, and I think,
okay.
Yeah,
but
multiple nights.
Yeah, okay, wow. Okay.
So, I mean, I think the use case in our context, both living in London, is if I was to open up the app on a Friday afternoon and see a 5-star hotel on the Champs-Elysees for £39, I'd be like, oh, let's jump on the Eurostar, man. This is I'll take the wife and the kids can figure it out. But that I absolutely understand.
Yeah, you're right. You just said anathema because you said using a train to go to Paris. No, you should fly. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I know. I should be removed from this podcast immediately. But hell, flying from London to Paris makes very little sense.
Yeah, absolutely no sense. Also the Eurostar. Anything else?
No, if you're flying around Asia, especially if you're based in Asia, you should check it out. Grab it. I think it's a great little app.
It's a great app. So as we said last week, no big topic of the week for time's sake. We'll have them from time to time. So not a topic this week. No question either, because we want to be mindful of your time listening to us, and we thank you so much for bearing with us every single week. So we're going to move directly to the airport of the week, Dubai Airport. Very big airport. I was there yesterday, 4 days ago. So I've been there thrice this month. So have you ever flown to that airport?
I have been once.
Which airline was it? So
like 16 years ago.
Wow, that must have been quite different.
Yeah, it was just a shed. It was on Emirates. One of my favorite airline mementos is there. It's a picture of me on the flight deck.
Nice.
With the captain. Somewhere over Syria, when you could do that.
Actually, you know what? You can still ask. So when I was flying from Frankfurt to Dubai, I was in a 777 because I just changed my flight at the very last minute. I wanted to take an earlier one. So the first flight out is a 777, not the A380. And I hear on the PA that the pilot is Greek. So I'm like, actually, you can. They say that if you ask kindly and if you don't look like you're completely wasted or you're just they usually would still potentially allow you
in
flight.
Wow, because I thought that with the current restrictions and then with the Germanwings tragedy that. It was never ever going to come back. That to me is one of the biggest shames.
Yeah, I agree.
It's how many current pilots, flight attendants, engineers, dispatchers first fell in love with aviation when they were taken up there as a kid, as a guest, and seeing it.
But I think what is for sure is that when the plane is still on the ground, especially before takeoff, when the doors are still open, just ask most. If you have a kid, they will let you in.
Yeah,
it's guaranteed, and they will even make your kid sit at the at the pilot seat and just take a picture or something. That's even if it's not flying, it's staggering when you see all this stuff around you, especially as a kid. Because I remember I had similar experiences as a kid. In flight decks, and even though if it's not flying, just try to do that because as a kid it's something that it's magical, and it's illogical to us, to you and me.
Oh yeah, I mean I'm 35 and I still get a kick out of all that stuff.
So so Dubai airport, obviously it's funny that you said that you've been 16 years ago. You said because the Dubai airport now caters for 70 million passengers a year. The capacity is actually at 70. It will increase at 75. And I'll come to that in a few when the Terminal D, Concourse D, is finished. But so they are at capacity. They are the number one airport in terms of passenger traffic, international passenger traffic, because if you count all passengers, Atlanta, Beijing, even Heathrow and Haneda are still in front, and I think they're in Dubai is on par with LAX. But in terms of international traffic, they are at more than 70 million passengers a year with a growth. And you mentioned, so you said a shed. In 2001, they were only at 37 million. So the growth is absolutely staggering in terms of number of passengers.
That really is incredible.
Most of it obviously is due to Emirates, though they are foreign carriers. I mean, do not misunderstand that, this airport is all about Emirates. A lot of it is, but they are foreign carriers. Actually, when I took that bus I mentioned earlier today to do the round of the airport, I've seen BA, Virgin, and other airlines at their stand. So there are many other airlines. They also have their own lounges and everything. So do not mistake that airport for being only Emirates. There's also Fly Dubai. Fly Dubai is a competitor of Emirates, but on a much smaller scale. So the layout of the airport is a bit. So you have on one side you have Terminal 1, which is the oldest terminal. Like you just said yourself, Alex, about Singapore, it's also the one that looks a bit more dated. The experience is not the best. There you have both Emirates and other airlines. Then you have Terminal 3, which is the newest terminal, which is exclusively Emirates.
And that's the one that's the biggest indoor space on Earth, I think.
Or something, yeah.
It's staggering statistic.
So you have the B gates, which is one concourse, and so they call it Concourse B, and you have the A gate, which is a newer one. I know it doesn't make sense because A shouldn't be first, but it's a newer one, and that's basically where you have the A380 landing slots at the Concourse A. So it's not a very homey airport. I'll be honest. It's this very massive airport. So it depends where you are. You have a lot of shops, obviously, a lot of restaurants. In terms of activities, you have a lot of stuff to do. Maybe not as fun as Changi, though you have a swimming pool inside in the hotel airport. I think it's called International Hotel or something like that. So you could go to a swimming pool.
Have they figured out? This drives me. I mean, I think that Hong Kong does a good job of this. Heathrow does not. Where you feel like you're walking forever and ever and ever.
So that's depending on the destination. So obviously when you're flying, like for instance to London, at London flight, the first flight in the morning is the EK1. So it's a flagship flight. So if you're flying to major destination, Hong Kong, we just did. I landed, so let's take the example I did. I landed from Frankfurt, which is also a big city for them, and I flew to Hong Kong. Well, even though it was through Bangkok, this was all in a single terminal, didn't have to walk. Actually, because I was in the lounge, and I'll come to the lounge a bit later because I'm lucky I have status, because I was in the lounge, everything happens. You don't even go in a non-lounge area. You are in the lounge and you board from the lounge. So that's extremely well done. Though, then if you were to fly in less big destinations. For instance, when I was living in Cyprus and would fly from Cyprus, even though it was Emirates, then I had to walk to Terminal 1, the one I mentioned, the oldest one that's being renovated, but then it might take a little bit longer. It's true.
But I think, the sensible thing, like in Hong Kong, there are two sets of security at each end of the airport. So that's not
true.
All channeling through one. There's one at the north side, one at the south side, and you don't necessarily have to pick which one you go through, but it means that if you pick them correctly, then your walk is actually pretty short to your gate.
Yeah, there's only one security. So the same idea here. You don't have to go, it's not one of those airports when you have security at the gate. So it's one security. Usually if you fly Emirates, you'll be entering through Terminal 3.
Right.
I've done it because obviously I've also stayed in Dubai. Going out is extremely easy. Actually, now they've installed biometric passport readers, and they have, I think, 15 to 20 passports. Most of it, of course, the American one plus European ones. You just scan and in. That's it.
Nice.
That's very easy. When you go the other way, it was always very painless to go back in. The security was I don't ever remember, although it's a massive airport, I never remember having. But it's true that sometimes you have to walk. They have a train that links some of the terminals, obviously, but it's this massive, and you can feel that, since they had to grow so massively, they added one terminal next to the other, and next, and sometimes the link between them doesn't really truly make sense. Like going through the train, what I just said, they still have to have staff telling you, turn here to take the train. It's not absolutely clear where you have to take the train, but they do staff it. So the experience is good. Obviously, again, if you're in a lounge, it's even better, because then there are two types of lounge. The lounge in the B Concourse B, which is the oldest part of Terminal 3 of Emirates. There are massive lounges on the first floor, but for me, the most impressive lounges are in Concourse A, which is the newest one for the A380, as I mentioned, because each lounge is an entire floor. So basically, you're not...
Wow.
The first time I went there, I was not even sure I was in a lounge, because you're like, okay, and you expect a lounge to be like a room, or and then basically it's the floor. So you have multiple rooms, you have I don't know, 6-7 restaurants. You have
Jeez.
you have duty free in the lounge, so you don't even have to go out. You can just do, if you want to do duty free, because it's a major shopping destination. The other thing that many people know, you can win a car. There's always a luxury car. So if there's a lottery, you can go. You can usually see it just when you walk in the, and I'm not talking in the lounge, but anywhere. You'll see the car. If you put your name in, you might actually win it, and it's usually very luxurious. I don't know, I think this one was a Lexus or something. So, and they are the fun thing is, if you want to sleep by the hour in Terminal 1, there's one they call the snooze cube. Little pods, very Japanese-like, with a TV, and you can pay by the hour. It's pretty nice. It's I've done it once a very long time ago, but it's pretty cool.
Clever.
But it's really basically lots of restaurants, lots of malls, not very homey, but lots of stuff to do. And you have to, because again, most of the time you are on a layover, because that's the system of Emirates. You're flying from and to another destination, so you have 2 or 3 hours to kill. There's always stuff to do. Strangely enough, the airport is actually much busier between 11 and 4 a.m. That is the rest of the time.
I bet. Yeah,
the rest of the time it's empty.
So, and of course, National Geographic did a 10-part
yeah.
documentary about Dubai Airport, which is good. It's a bit fluffy in parts, but there's some really interesting bits and some phenomenal photography. One of the best. I haven't managed to get through all of it yet, but in I think maybe the 3rd episode, they talk about re-engineing an A330, I think it is, and the tests. They go up on the test flight and how they do the. This is a new. Maybe you've heard about this, but there's certainly a new thing to me called the engine slam test, where they turn the engine off and then they slam it all the way open, and then they throttle it back again, and then they slam it all the way open. And that, if the engine's going to fail, it's going to fail doing that. And that's how they tested it.
Wow.
And it was really, really very interesting, the process that it was go through. So if you're able to find it on your local National Geographic station, it's worth watching.
Yeah, it's absolutely. I have the link for the on NatGeoTV.com, I think it is. I'll put it on, but you should watch it. So like you said, some of the episodes are subpar, some are better, but it's a nice one. I will also quickly say that if you are going to Dubai, so you're staying in Dubai, first of all, is depending, of course, of your nationality, but it's pretty easy. They make it very easy to enter the country. You have the metro. You have 2 lines depending which terminal. Terminal 1 and 3 is, I think, the red line, and Terminal 2 is, which I'll come in a second, is the green line. So they are very modern lines, but obviously I would still recommend getting just a cab, because the city is not very far, actually. Even if you have a short layover, you can go to the city and back, see that massive tower, the Burj Khalifa, the highest tower in the world. And I would recommend it. There's no rooftop, because I know you, Alex, love rooftops. There's no rooftop in Dubai Airport to see the runway and the airplanes. Sad, it's a bit sad, but of course it's so hot in Dubai that I'm sure. Well, exactly. Ask me if anyone wants to know where to do some plane spotting. There are some hotels around it. I stayed at one, the Premier Inn, where they have a rooftop swimming pool. You can see some of the planes. It's really nice.
Nice.
So I'll tell you. Just ask me, guys, and I'll tell you which ones to go to. And I know I've said that before, but when you land again with Emirates, there is a movie telling you how to find your way out. Either if you're on layover, it tells you what to do, or if you are going out to Dubai, it also tells you what to do. It's very well done. It's new, because last time I took Emirates a year ago, it didn't exist. It used to be that the movie was about Dubai and telling you, what the destination it was. Now it's really more practical, but it's very well done, telling you how you're supposed to go out of the plane and stuff. Very, you see, they put a lot of investment in the passenger experience. I will finish with a foreign carrier, because I mentioned a lot of Emirates. I've never flown any foreign carriers to Dubai Airport. So currently they are at Terminal 1, the oldest one, but nicely enough, actually. So the Concourse D, so the new terminal that is being built, is almost finished, because I saw it, will be given to the foreign carrier. So when people say, the foreign carriers are being depreciated, they will give the newest one to the foreign carriers, and Emirates will take over the oldest one. So Emirates actually taking the oldest bit of the airport, which is not the best for them, and giving the best new one for the foreign carriers. I mentioned BA, Lufthansa, others are there. I've never seen it from the inside. I've seen it from the outside, but it looks great. So that's a good gift. And to finish, Terminal 2. If you ever fly to Terminal 2, that's a bit bizarre because it's the only terminal that's in the other side of the runways. So there's no link from that terminal to the other ones. But it's a terminal that's only occupied by Fly Dubai first, and also by basically low-cost airlines that go in the region. India, Saudi, all the region, the Middle East. So chances are you'll never get there, but it's true that some people I've heard said, I need to connect to Fly Dubai. This is a pain. You have to take a cab, basically, to do the route of the airport. There's no direct link yet. There are plans to do it. So I was lucky never to have done it. And I cannot also tell you the experience at Terminal 2. So, massive airport. We heard, I told you that I heard Tim Clark, the CEO of Emirates, saying that the airline should expand and expand and expand. I don't see how they can expand there. So probably at some point they will move to Al Maktoum. Well, it's a new airport that is just opened, does mostly cargo, cater, like we said, for eventually to 240 million passengers.
Extraordinary.
What do you think? What do you think about? So they have this airport that is almost brand new in Dubai, and they will say, "Oh, we'll abandon it and go to another one." I mean, that's crazy.
That's Dubai in a nutshell, though.
Exactly. So that's about it. If you want any tips about Dubai Airport, ask me, because I've been there several times.
You basically live there.
No, I don't. And on that, Alex, I mean, I'm not sure we're gonna record for the next week. Sorry, because I'll be traveling. This time I'm going to Prague and New York. But I'll be able to report on how it is to fly from Milan to New York with Emirates.
Yeah, that will be interesting to hear.
Are you traveling again, or are you finally settling a little bit?
I don't travel till the end of the month when I do London, Atlanta, Fort Myers, New York, London.
Nice.
Over a weekend.
That would be a great topic, another crazy route to be talking about.
And it will be my first flight on a 787.
I'm so jealous.
So I will report back on that.
So jealous of you. I've never done it. I'm so jealous. Oh, God damn you. Okay, guys. Alex, thank you. And I guess if not next week, the week after.
Looking forward to it.
Safe travels.
You too.
On behalf of Layovers and the entire crew, we would like to thank you for joining us on this podcast today. And we're looking forward to seeing you on board again next week. Flight attendants, please prepare for landing.